time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Actually, he's only really passionate coach. And once you realize that, then I mean, you kind of like fall in love with just learning and him just really helping you, and he helping you do a lot of things. And even when he's on you, you just know that he wants you to be the best you can be.
Not quite the edge or the focus that we need yesterday or today. So thankfully today was the last day of finals. So starting tomorrow we'll have hopefully full attention on what we got to do to get ready to play this ball game.
And good evening. Good Friday evening. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. From downtown Columbia, we wrap up another busy week of Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic. Professor Tom Hayes is off tonight.
Correct.
Is it his birthday, or is that next week?
Wednesday, we've been told it's his birthday.
Of next week?
Yes. So, December signing day, DSD, is his birthday.
December. So that's what it is, DSD.
Yeah.
December signing day. Speaking of recruiting, top recruiting story late this afternoon. And this is big for Clemson, I think. Jamari Sawyer, who by himself looks like an entire offensive line. You ever seen a picture of him?
I have, yes.
This guy is huge. Anyway, he has decided not to sign early.
It's big.
Big for Clemson because he was going to Georgia this weekend. He is going to Georgia this weekend officially. And, a lot of people already had him tied down with the Bulldogs. He will take other official visits in January. So this opens it up a little bit.
It's obviously something for Clemson that, not that they necessarily need offensive line, but as like we said all week, you always need to try and keep the depth there completely stacked, especially if you're going to run into a situation where Mitch Hyatt possibly leaves early. So not necessarily saying that he would be the ultimate left tackle, but as far as the depth goes, getting a guy like that in here would be incredible, especially for what Clemson can bring to the table. And, not that Clemson competes with Georgia, but in a way, I feel like Clemson is competing with all of these schools that are perennially in the college football playoff as far as recruiting goes. It's not just against other schools in the ACC or in other schools in the state like South Carolina. You want to get that guy away from a school like a Georgia or an Alabama or someone of that ilk.
Clemson is in that relatively small club,
rarefied air
of programs that are all involved with the very top players in the country. Every once in a while, somebody outside that circle will dip their toe in that water and get somebody. But by and large, it's the same group now year in and year out, kind of divvying up the very elite players in the country. And, and that club changes. I mean, teams are in it, and then they kind of slip a little bit for whatever reason. New teams climb into that club, move into that club, and get involved. But Clemson has been there for, I don't know, going on maybe 6 or 7 years, and they show no signs of letting up.
Well, the weird thing about this is that when you join that club, you are in a precarious situation because you have a lot of people who are knocking down your door versus other programs where, like Will Muschamp's got to go out and find guys. His coaches have to go on the recruiting trail, and they have to go and find guys. They got to find guys off the beaten path sometimes, maybe bring in guys that other schools might not entertain. Not that necessarily you're shopping at the bargain basement, but you are not necessarily going to get into some of the doors that, say, Dabo Swinney would get into as far as that goes. Dabo Swinney, they know who the top guys are. All the top guys are at the same places and at the same high schools visiting the same players. It's your job to not only convince those guys, but also to find out which of those guys is actually a real prospect and not somebody who could be a pretender.
All right, so that's the first of the recruiting news. We'll have more for you coming up a little bit later on. We'll talk about the weekend. USC's got a couple of key official visitors coming in. We'll touch on the entire landscape of recruiting around here for you a little bit later on. Also, Dabo Swinney met with the media today after the Tigers' most recent bowl practice. We'll hear from him. Lee Sterling will be here. Got some professional help for you coming up at 6:45, so get ready for Lee, who has been – he has truly been on fire this year, especially his NFL picks. He has been spot on. More from USC basketball coach Frank Martin on the progress of his team. And we'll hear from Gamecock freshman. Can we call him a sensation?
He's been their best freshman.
Justin Minaya.
He's been their best freshman.
He has been very solid.
And I saw him, from the moment he stepped on the floor for the Gamecocks. Originally, I probably miscast him. I said he's going to be a glue guy. He's going to be a guy who can get you a lot of gritty stats. But also, he's been a guy who can score, and he's been somebody, and that's, I think, also to the detriment of some of the other Gamecocks and the fact that they've had some trouble scoring and trouble finding some of their footing, and he's been one of the most steady guys. I know Frank Martin said over the last couple of games he hasn't necessarily looked his best, but in my mind, over the totality of this season, if there's a guy who you're saying is one of the 2 or 3 best players and the bright spots for South Carolina on the basketball floor, it's Justin Minaya.
Okay, our phone number is 800-956-7266, 800-956-7266. Have you formulated your national championship game? In other words, who do you think will win in the semis? I've got mine in mind.
I have mine.
Will, the copycat, he's got his in mind. I had mine first.
That's not true.
Copycat.
I had mine on the first Sunday.
If you want to join in and tell us who you think will win in the semis, 800-956-7266. We're not limited to that. If you got some recruiting comments or questions or anything else, 800-956-7266 is the phone number.
I think Atlanta will be very, very happy with the outcome if it goes the way that I'm predicting it. If that's any indication.
Well,
for you.
there's no I've got Clemson, Georgia.
That's
now,
what exactly.
You can't have the same two. So who do you have?
That's who I have.
You
I had Clemson, Georgia when the matchup came out on the first Sunday of the college football playoff.
First one to have it. You can't copy me.
There's no first.
Can't you be unique in your thinking? You got to copy me. You got to.
I've already made the pick. I've made the pick before. I made the pick the day it came out.
Will the rest of the country be enamored with that?
No. I think we will be enamored with it. I think
we'll be eaten up with it.
I think those in the Southeast will be enamored with it. I don't know if it plays well nationally, honestly.
College football fans will be, but West Coast people, Midwest people who are just maybe your casual college football fan, will they find an all Southern area championship to be enticing? I guess we've had that before. We can go back and look at the pairings. It's not like it'd be the first time.
No. But the problem with this is
this could bring together, if you go back and check the pairings, think about this. They're 75 miles apart, Clemson and Georgia.
It's probably the closest one.
Might be the closest one in terms of schools' locations.
Yeah, I'd have to look and see just because of how long they've been doing that. At least in this format since like the BCS started. I think that's not fair to compare bygone eras when the national championship would be
Well, they used to award those out of bowl games, so
you
couldn't do it. But in this particular case, you can go back and check.
And here's the other part of this, too, is that the 4 teams in this playoff, they don't necessarily represent a geographical swath of the college football nation. The West Coast is not represented. Granted, it's been a while since they've been represented in a very big way since this has gone to this format because the Pac-12 has basically cannibalized itself. The Midwest and the Big Ten is not really represented. The lower Midwest is with Oklahoma. But really, you're talking about 3 schools in the American South and Oklahoma. And, that's while it will make diehard college football fans salivate, I don't know if it captures the casual fan as much. And I think also the College Football Playoff Committee did itself a disservice, at least when you're talking about the television aspect, in not including at least a Big Ten person or a Pac-12 person if you're really wanting it to be that particular goal. But as far as the goal of getting the 4 best teams, they are the 4 best teams. There's no question about that.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. You can jump right in and jump on the air. We're back in a moment.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
It's the Friday edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Everybody now is getting in that holiday spirit. Schools are getting out for the holiday break. Want to give a shout out to the people of the great town of Latta, South Carolina.
Yes.
My hometown. Today was the annual pig picking in Latta. This is something that has been going on for about 40 years. And what the people of Latta do, it's a group of citizens who put up the money, provide the food, they do the cooking, and they have this at the Latta Recreation Center, and they feed you all day long. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Anybody who walks up.
You mean there was an event that involved food that you didn't invite me to?
Well, I had a feeling if you went, they'd run short of food.
Oh, come on.
But seriously,
That's not.
they feed anybody who walks up. Resident of Latta, resident of Dillon County, somebody driving down I-95.
A Yankee like Will.
Yeah. So the food is great. I went there for lunch today and had a combination of rice and something, and it was really, really good.
What was that?
And really good collards or turnips. I think they were collards and slaw. And anyway,
See, now,
I just want
picking that gives me a intonation that that's barbecue.
Yeah, that's tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, they do breakfast. They do something else for lunch. The barbecue's tonight.
Barbecue's tonight.
But the point is, it's what they do for people.
That's good.
And it's what they do. They've done it for. It's an all volunteer thing. Donations from the citizens. A group of men get together, primarily throw in the money, do the cooking, do the cleaning. It's just cool. They got barrels. They got barrels of wood burning to provide the heat for people who are standing in line. Big old trash barrels filled with wood that are burning and smoking to keep you warm.
I drove past Latta on the way to Conway when we did that remote up at.
You would do that. You would do that. Yes.
I would wonder if I'd be welcome in open arms.
I don't think so. I don't think so. You're from up there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be welcome in Latta.
I don't think so.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. You're the kind of person that would come into Latta and
see. Now, what if I told them
we charge you $3.50 for a gallon of gas?
What if I told them I know and work with Phil Kornblue? What would that get me?
Probably nothing.
I'll get nothing.
That'd give you not a frown. Probably give you a frown.
What if I told them I knew Raymond Felton?
I'd give you probably a free meal somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. I don't
name dropper. But you'd see Raymond's name up on the water tower.
Where your name should be.
No. My name is right where it's supposed to be in Latta.
Gotcha.
Not on the post office walls, that's for sure. But anyway, would you quit and let me just congratulate the people of my hometown for doing a great thing once again? And it was great being there today for lunch, and I commend everybody involved there with that. And that just shows you what South Carolina and the small towns in South Carolina are all about. Latta is just one of many communities around the state of South Carolina that during the holiday season will do something like that. So thank you very much. Enjoyed being there, and congratulations. 800-956-7266 is the number. Let's get to some phone calls here on Sports Talk. Tippy in Edgefield is up with us first tonight. Tippy, how are you?
Yeah, guys, doing pretty good. I missed a little bit of your conversation a minute ago about the TV ratings, but as far as I'm concerned, if it's on cable, they've already missed out on one person watching it to start with. More and more things are going to cable, and I don't really want cable. So
do you not have cable?
No, don't have cable.
Well, how do you
flip phone?
How do you get your TV? I mean, do you have rabbit ears or what?
I got regular TV, but I got a high def antenna, but I just use the regular over there TV channels.
How about that?
So you will not be able to watch Clemson when they play in the college football playoff semis.
Not if it's on cable, no. That and NASCAR, I don't get to watch a lot of NASCAR anymore either. So,
will you go to a bar to watch Will you go to a bar to watch the football games on New Year's Day?
Well, his name is Tippy.
I normally will not. I can do that at the house as far as I can listen to it on the radio and hang around the house. I don't like drink drive and all that kind of stuff. So
it's better on the radio.
listen to the radio and fire up one of them 55-gallon drums like you was talking about, full of wood. And
you got one of those?
There.
You got one of those?
I got three of them.
How about that? You know what, Tippy? I got a feeling that if you had been in Latta today, you'd have felt right at home.
Oh yeah, I'd get the bell burning if I had to stand in line, no doubt.
Yep.
What if? Well, there is no reason for us to be able to up because we're both going to be covering the games. But if I was in town, I kind of feel like I'd want to get a nice 12-pack of cold beer and go up and listen to the game on the radio with Tippy. That's what I'd do.
I don't think Tippy would like you.
Why?
Because you're from up there.
Why do you keep perpetuating that people wouldn't like me? I'm a very awesome individual. I'm personable. I relate, and I'm agreeable.
See, if you have to say those things about yourself, if you have to say those things about yourself, and not allow other people to say them, then it must be a lie.
I need to say them because you're perpetuating this farce.
Anything else, Tippy? Who you got? Who you got winning the semis?
Three kinds of Yankees.
Say what?
There's three kinds of Yankees. You know that, right?
No. What are those?
You got the Yankee comes down here on vacation, goes back home. You got the damn Yankee that moves down here. Then you got the halfback Yankee that moves to Florida, doesn't like hurricanes, and moves halfway back, comes up here and aggravates me.
All right, Tippy. You go adjust your rabbit ears and watch Andy Griffith tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeehaw.
That's right. All right. Yeah,
See
I'm
ya.
just saying if they want to do their TV ratings, they need to see about not having everything on cable anymore.
You got it. I'll tell them. We'll tell
Don Ohlmeyer and John Skipper and all those guys.
Yeah.
I'll maybe you can write John Skipper some snail mail.
Let's go to Brian in Bishopville. Hello, Brian. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, Brian, it's Vern. V-E-R-N.
Oh, Vern.
Vern.
Hey, Vern.
Yeah.
Hey.
Mr. Balaga, how you doing?
Good.
Mr. Balaga, explain how you get bargain player when Will Muschamp and his crew go out on the road and recruit. How you get bargain recruits? Explain that to me.
How do you get bargain recruits?
Just what you say when you talk about Dabo Swinney getting all these top recruits.
Right.
They used to remember. Yeah, you explain that to me.
No, I'm saying that Clemson recruits at an extremely high level that a few teams in the country recruit at year after year.
They're behind some velvet ropes, Vern.
Yeah. Let me handle Vern for a second here. They recruit at a very high level. I think it's pretty evident, and they're in that relatively small group of teams that recruit the same high-level players year after year. Now, you talk about South Carolina. They're not in that club with the national elite players annually recruiting from that group.
Don't recruit human beings just like Clemson do?
Yes, they do recruit humans.
Well, then you explain that to me, Mr. Condu. You explain that to me then. That's a hold you wrong.
I'm trying to ask. What do you want me to say? They recruit humans.
I want you to say the truth.
Their humans are not as
skilled.
They recruit good players. I mean, a player that might not look as good coming out of high school as the next guy might go to college and explode and be a better player. It's all projections. It's all projections coming out of high school.
Like Mr. Debo Samuel.
Like Debo, but I think people thought Debo was going to be a good college player coming out of Chapman.
Debo been the best. Debo been the best player in college until he got his leg broke.
Yeah, well, he is a very good player, outstanding player, potential All-SEC, All-American type player if he can stay healthy.
Another bargain. Y'all love Dabo Swinney so good. I wonder what gender he is. Y'all love him so good and stuff. And I'm gonna stop listening to your show because I'm sick of Dabo Swinney. You have a Merry Christmas.
Why is he in denial, man? Like he called up a couple weeks ago and got mad at me for praising Clemson. Praise for Clemson.
A big Gamecock.
I know he's a big Gamecock fan, but here's the
truth
thing
about Clemson. The truth about Clemson is Dabo is not going anywhere anytime soon, and their program is not backing up anytime soon. It's up to Will Muschamp in South Carolina to step up to Clemson's level.
Praise for Clemson is not an automatic insult of South Carolina. Clemson gets behind a velvet rope that South Carolina is basically there's a bouncer sitting there and saying, you know what, you're not able to get in here yet.
Look, if the Gamecocks get KJ Henry,
that's a big guy.
That's a big get for them. And,
yes,
and that's recruiting with the big fellows, and that's winning
that's
big.
That's a guy who'd be battle behind the velvet rope.
But you got to win those kind of battles. We'll see if they're able to do it on Wednesday.
Exactly.
Be right back. Friday edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Leading into next week, which is, of course, the week leading into the holidays, which will be the next Monday. So we'll be here all next week, live and in color for you. And then Christmas Day, no sports talk of any kind.
None.
Zero.
Well, it's a travel day.
Yes, but I'm just letting people know that, and hopefully local stations will know this as they should, but there'll be no sports talk of any kind, not live, not recorded, nada on Christmas Day, the 25th. Now, the 26th, I'll be in Tampa with the Gamecocks. They will have arrived on the 26th. We'll be there for the arrival. We'll be there to cover them every step of the way. And then on the 27th, you'll be in New Orleans.
Correct.
Now, do you say New Orleans?
I say Nolans.
Oh, so you have to be different.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, most people, like the people who live in New Orleans, pronounce it New Orleans.
Nolans.
Okay. Well, you'll be there.
And I'll be in Auburn on the 26th for the only reason in the fact that is the halfway point between our studios in Columbia and New Orleans.
Okay. Well, nobody really cares about that part.
I'll be on the show there.
Just get to New Orleans and cover the Tigers.
Yeah.
At the semifinals. So we're going to have them both covered for you.
Yeah.
I mean, New Year's Day here on Sports Talk. I know you'll be busy. Well, Tippy won't be watching because everything's on cable. He can't get anything. But he'll be listening to us.
Hopefully.
Because we'll be with the Gamecocks post-game, and will be with the Tigers pre-game from the Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we got it all covered for you here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266. USC begins practice tomorrow over at the Gamecock practice fields. And there is no media availability with the Gamecocks until Wednesday.
That's true.
So things will be happening with them. They're going to practice, I guess, every day, Saturday, Sunday, all next week. We'll have a press conference with Muschamp on Wednesday, and then players
day after
will be on Thursday, and that'll be that until we get with them in Tampa. We'll have regular access to them the first 3 days in Tampa, 26 when they arrive, then 27, 28, 29. Couple of no media availability days on the 30th and 31st.
And then the game is the first.
At the practice facility, but I think that we have some press conferences with the head coaches.
Yes.
Leading up to that. So that's what's ahead as far as that is concerned.
Panthers owner Jerry Richardson wanted this story.
Well, before you get to Dabo, go ahead.
Under investigation, unfortunately, for workplace misconduct, the Panthers are making a statement saying that they take the allegations very seriously and are fully committed to an investigation and taking appropriate steps to address and remediate any misconduct. It's being led up by an international law firm, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan, and also will be overseen by minority owner, former White House Chief of Staff Erskine Bowles. And the Panthers will not comment any further, but that's certainly something we wanted to bring to your attention. An unfortunate situation involving the Carolina Panthers. To Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, who are getting ready for Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. Dabo, not exactly impressed with the way practice has gone over the last couple of days, and has been encouraged by the fact that Trey Lamar has returned.
He's been fine. Just okay, as far as just where we are practice-wise. I mean, we're not anywhere near where we need to be or I want us to be. I think just very kind of average yesterday and today, to be honest with you. It's a little different challenge for us this year. As I've said, last several years when we've started bowl practice, school's been over and we've had all bowl focus. But, everything's pushed back a week later. So we've been having to balance finals and prepping for that. Recruiting, there's been a lot going on this week. So just not quite the edge or the focus that we need yesterday or today. So, thankfully today was the last day of finals. So, starting tomorrow, we'll have hopefully, full attention on what we got to do to get ready to play this ball game. But, so, not terrible, but just pretty average first couple days. But we'll ramp it up tomorrow.
I thought there was some truth in what you were joking with Nick about the other night about nobody good enough to be a finalist. But does it seem like maybe this team has been more about team than individuals this year?
Well, I don't know if that insinuates last year being about individuals, and it wasn't, because last year they were a great team, very unselfish group. You know, guys that were great teammates. They were just more high-profile guys that just got people wrote about, talked about more. But I think that's probably the biggest difference is this team's just kind of been just not as highly publicized. Some of the individuals, we had some big personalities like Bo Ware last year. Deshaun wasn't necessarily a big personality, but he was a big presence. But you know, I think that these guys have just kind of been businesslike all year, and they've really done a great job of getting ready and finding ways to win, regardless of the situation. But they definitely have been every sense of the word, they've been a very close team.
Is the biggest difference between this third match with Alabama the fact that both teams have so much more time to game plan for each other? More of a chess match in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think even when you only had a week, it was still, you have the same amount of time, but it's definitely the biggest difference because both teams, it'll be a long time longer for them than us, a week longer because we did play a championship game, but long time since you've been on the field. It's not as quick a turnaround. And even though, when you go into last year when we went into the Ohio State game, we had already had Washington and Alabama broken down completely, so we were ready. We had all of our scout report stuff done. So you always have that stuff done, but you just have more time to practice to get ready for the opponent. So that's the biggest difference for sure. But it's the same for both teams.
It's Dabo Sweeney. Again, no real other injuries other than the one we brought you earlier this week with Judah Davis not being able to play. His brother JD should be back for the bowl game as he had been kind of limped during the Carolina contest. He returned also in the game against
He had been
Miami.
what?
What's that?
He had been what?
He'd been injured in the game against Carolina.
No, how'd you say that? What'd you say? He'd been kind of
injured.
I thought you said he'd been kind of limped. You say limped?
I might have said limped, but
Did he say limped? I thought he said limped too. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was injured in the game against Carolina, returned in the ACC championship game against Miami. Doofus. It is a Friday. It must be a Friday.
It is Friday.
You are poking it. Your antenna is
poking
up.
The bear.
Your antenna's up today, man. I have no idea.
Well, I've had a lot of good food in me today. Got some good coffee going on. In a good mood. Holiday spirit. Things are.
The snark meter is high with the corn.
It's at its best. It's at its best when it's at a very high level. All right, still to come, more from Dabo Sweeney. Lee Sterling around the corner with our Sterling picks tonight. We'll hear from USC's Frank Martin on the progress of his team, and Justin Minaya, the Gamecock freshman. Clemson basketball tomorrow. We heard from Brad Brownell last night. So the Tigers play Florida tomorrow afternoon. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. Mm-hmm. We'll see if Clemson can go and beat Florida on a neutral court. Boy, I tell you what, that's going to ring a very loud bell for this Clemson team. I have liked what I've seen from Clemson after a kind of a somewhat shaky early part of the season. Some of their early performances weren't great, but they really picked it up of late.
Well, it'd be a signature win, no doubt. And I think too, from a standpoint of what Clemson needs to do, they would need a victory like this to kind of prove to the rest of the ACC that they're here to be a player. And that is a gauntlet. There's no question about it. There are going to be many games where they're not favored, and not necessarily to saying that you expect them to contend for a conference title or anything like that. But I think if you could get back to the tournament, you could create a nice little positive step forward for Brad Brownell, not only on the recruiting trail, but just to prove that, hey, he can save his job. I think that's what he needs to do to save his job this year. Not that he's necessarily in any kind of peril, but I think that you need to get to a point where that is now the expectation to get to the tournament once every couple of years instead of, losing out in the NIT.
Now, a couple of things here. Number one, he's got Dabo Sweeney in his corner. That's big for him there. Number two, a lot of Clemson people think they're going to get Zion Williamson, and that alone would buy Brownell another year, regardless of what happens this season. But you know what? This season can take care of itself, and they keep playing at a high level like this and continue getting double-digit scoring from all five starters. They'll be a tough out. Be right back.
Time to put your money where your mouth is. Put up your feelings, let them fight it out. He's a hustler. If you don't got gas, you won't be getting no stamps. And if you don't got money, you won't see money. If you don't got gas, you won't be getting no. He's a gambler. At the house on the young and then we got change.
Show them the next item up for bid.
It is time for your professional help here on Sports Talk from Paramount Sports. We welcome in Lee Sterling, who has been on quite the run, 10-1, his current run on NFL plays, 33-11. That run is on 40 to 50 unit plays, 35-13 on 30 to 35 unit plays. Sir, you are, as they say, on fire.
Yeah, it's been fun and looking to finish up the bowl season strong. Got to work a little bit harder with all the new rules. You know, kids sitting out bowl games, crazy situations like Arizona State where coach is fired, but he's going to stay on and coach the bowl game without two assistants. And then the situation at UCF where a coach moves on, but he's coming back to coach his team, hopefully, in their case, to an undefeated record.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. Yep. So what we want people to know is, though you're talking with us tonight about the top of the list bowl games, you've got takes on all the bowl games for the entire bowl season starting this weekend. Yeah,
if they want to get involved, I mean, probably the least impressive thing this year is we won 11 out of 15 weeks. It's the winning weeks, and when you win 5 or 6 more games in those weeks, that's really set us apart. And winning, as you noted, those top unit games, we rate those games from 10 to 50 units. And when you're hitting between 72 and 75% on your 30 to 50 unit plays, you can make a lot of money. So if you want to get involved, you can get everything from now. You got the last 3 weeks of the NFL season, 41 bowl games this year, NFL playoffs and Super Bowl. You're going to get probably 52 to 55 games from now through the Super Bowl. If you use coupon code SAVE150, once a year I give every station a special code where they save more money. Normally it's SAVE50. SAVE150, you save $150 off the price. It's only $497, brings it all the way down to $347. It's all available at ParamountSports.com.
Sounds like a steal.
If we continue on this roll, it will be.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into the games that you have fed us for tonight. Let's begin with, let's do Georgia, Oklahoma out in the Rose Bowl. Bulldogs by 2. Of course, it depends on how many more Bulldogs end up in jail between now and New Year's Day. If that line will be impacted.
Wow, that was a shot, huh?
Well, isn't it true?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think the least they could do after the regular season, after a great regular season and winning the SEC championship, as a team, as a group, get together and say, fellas, let's stay out of trouble for a month. Think we can do that? Think we can stay out of –
probably said that to him, Phil, but these kids are so excited to get into the Final Four.
It's very hard to get Jack Daniels drinkers, turn them into milk.
Here's my take on this game. I think Georgia's a year early to the party.
Yeah.
They were in a perfect situation for revenge, having lost 3 weeks earlier to Auburn. Auburn had no running back. Top 2 running backs were out. Their offense wasn't the same here. And do you want to go against Baker Mayfield? I mean, here's the guy. The one time people thought, okay, well, they finally got him. Texas has him. They take the lead. Next play, 75-yard touchdown pass. It's like going against Tom Brady in his prime. He is that good as a college football quarterback. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I think the wrong team's favorite. I think they win this game by double digits, 35-24.
Wow. So do you see any resemblance? You made an interesting comment. Georgia's a year ahead to the party.
Yep.
And I think people thought in 2015 Clemson was a year ahead to the party and got to the championship game. You see a similarity between the two?
Well, they got to the championship game. I think they were a better team. I think that Georgia – they made it to the Final Four, but I don't know if I can say they're the 4th best team in the country.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Michigan and the Gamecocks. Michigan now favored by 7 in the Outback Bowl in Tampa.
Yeah, and this Michigan team here is going to go back to Peters as their quarterback here. South Carolina was not spectacular on offense, but one got blown out of one game, and that was the Clemson game here. And Michigan, not much of a score here. They're 5-10 as a favorite. South Carolina 6-1 as an underdog. I just don't think that Michigan has those quick strike guys that can take a ball and run 75 yards by breaking the tackle for a touchdown, or catch a ball, make a move, and slip a guy and go 50, 60 yards. I think it goes down to the wire. In fact, I think Jim Harbaugh has been spending so much time on recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I think South Carolina is going to pull up the stunner 24-23.
Oh,
yep.
Well, I think Gamecock fans would sign up for that right now. A 9-win season and a win over a blue blood program like Michigan would go a long way.
Yep.
To the Sugar Bowl, Clemson, a 2-point underdog against Alabama. Vegas just will not give Clemson credit when it comes to facing Alabama. Not the respect maybe that the defending national champion deserves.
Yeah, either that or they're trying to trap you here and trying to get you to play Clemson. Dabo wins this game. I think he can lay claim to being the best coach in college football because he's beaten Nick Saban on a neutral field 2 out of 3 times. And I think Nick is taking this really seriously. I think he's going to throw some new wrinkles out here. I don't see really much of a difference between these two teams. I think, though, that Alabama really suffered that Auburn game when they were missing 4 of the top 5 linebackers. I think that hurt them here. I just don't know if Clemson rarely, if you go back to like pro football, teams that play in the championship game and have that perfect game, rarely do they win the Super Bowl. And I think Clemson played that game against Miami. I don't know if they can replicate that. I'm going to say Alabama wins 27-20. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Your game of the week?
Is it bad
I hope I'm wrong, though.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I feel like I'm on the opposite side of Lee on all 3 of these?
Yeah.
He's probably happy about that. He is the professional, you know. He is the one that knows what he's doing.
He is.
Well, I can tell you this much. The Alabama-Clemson game will not be a game that I'm giving my clients.
Good.
It's
So I hope
just
that's the game I get wrong.
It's just too tough to call. Is that what you're saying?
It is.
Yeah, you don't feel – yeah. Okay, your game of the week, Auburn laying 9 against Central Florida.
Yep. Great game here. I mean, there are 3 non-bowl games, and we're talking about championship games that I think that stand out from afar, and this is one of them. The others are obviously Penn State, Washington, and Ohio State against USC. I mean, all the storylines are here. Do you get a coach that comes from a program, and I mean, they had no wins 2 years ago to pull off maybe an undefeated season. So you want to find out if they can pull the big upset, or does Auburn roll? Just call 800-400-9741. Again, the number you want to get that game for free, 800-400-9741. And if you want to sign up for the bowl package, use coupon code SAVE150, ParamountSports.com. And this will be our last show until the Friday before the Super Bowl. So I want to wish both of you guys and your staff and all the listeners out there happy and healthy holiday season.
And we thank you. It has been an absolute joy having you with us once again. You are the best around, and we thank you for being part of our show. And we'll talk to you, like you said, prior to the Super Bowl. And you, too, have a great holiday season.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, he sent us a nice holiday gift.
Yes.
And I wrote him back, and I said, this is nice, but, you know, I really would have liked a 8x10 glossy of the Miami cheerleaders. Yeah. Inside story there. His daughter is one of the Miami cheerleaders. Yeah. Then I said, nah, probably not a good idea. Yeah. But see, nothing wrong with asking for a picture of the Miami cheerleaders. That would be nice to hang on the wall.
Don't drag me. Don't drag me down that lane. I'm not going there.
Oh, he's not going there, Brian. Should I mention what he said off the air a little while ago, huh?
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
You know, don't portray yourself one way on the air and another way off the air. Let's be consistent.
I am as transparent as spring water.
Okay. Hey, we have got a ton of recruiting. Yes, sir. Hang in there for that. It's coming up.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Been a great show so far tonight, if I must say so myself. Of course, you know what? If you're the only one saying it, then Corn, that's probably not the case. But I happen to think it's been a pretty good show tonight. Hope you think the same. 800-956-7266. We have got Bob Ibach coming up at the bottom of the hour. Tell you more about how you can get your hands on these terrific Clemson footballs that recognize this season for the Tigers. And so stay tuned for that. If you haven't bought your gifts yet, this is one you should put on your list. He'll tell you how to get your hands on one or more coming up in just a moment. A lot of recruiting coming your way. Stay tuned for that. And more phone calls in just a moment. Remind you, the state's finest Christmas trees, they are still on sale throughout the state at your local South Carolina Department of Agriculture Farmers Market. Celebrate the holidays. Make your home beautiful. Support our farmers. Trees are available until Christmas Eve, which is the 24th, for those of you confused about that.
I don't think anybody is confused about that.
Actually, I know. I'm not going to say who it is. I actually know one person who earlier this week disclosed to me that he could not remember if Christmas Day was on the 23rd, the 24th, or the 25th. I'm not going to say who that was. This was a serious comment.
Someone in your temple?
This was a serious comment by somebody. Why would you think it has to be a Jewish person?
I would think that most able-bodied people, Jewish or Gentile, know the day that Christmas is.
I think you draw a supposition there that's not necessarily on target.
I draw a very, I would say, widely held supposition. A widely held supposition.
Quickly, back to the phone calls we go. And is Vern back with us? No. Who is it? It's Tim. Oh, Tim in Dillon. I was in Dillon County today. Hello, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are y'all?
Good.
What's up, Tim?
Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I enjoyed the show. I had a quick question about recruiting. I guess they feel okay with the depth at the, kicker, punter position. And I know we got the, was it transfer or walk-on?
You talking about South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They got the transfer from Kent State. But you know what? Let me say this. Let me say this about kickers, man. I mean, Parker White's got a very strong leg. I thought he did okay as a freshman under extreme conditions in a lot of cases. They asked him to kick some long field goals, and he missed those. He made most of his short ones. Kickers are like dessert. Some come in and are tasty, and some aren't. I mean,
that is a very odd analogy.
No, my point is that you think on the surface you think they're going to be good and be the answer. I can remember there was. Well, I'm not going to talk about somebody, but I mean, South Carolina's had highly rated kickers in the past come in and just not get the job done. This guy might be the answer at kick, might be better than what they've got on campus right now. The thing about kickers is you have to go out and perform in practice and just earn the job. There's no assumption made. If you can't put it through the pipes, you're not going to be the kicker, and they'll face off in the spring.
I'll put it more simply: kickers are head cases.
Yeah,
so they're head cases. So in my mind, as long as you can have somebody who makes it in the game, again, you can do all this stuff about practice. It's all about what happens in the game. So in my mind,
right. Okay. Well, but they didn't offer anybody else as far as
No, they did not offer any. BT Potter from South Point's one of the best kickers in the state this year. There's a couple of good kickers in the state, but they did look at him, but they never really moved on any kicker. Now there's a kicker up in the upstate in the 2019 class that South Carolina has gotten involved with. And in fact, a lot of big time schools are getting on him. Patrick, I think it's Patrick Nation. And that'll be someone to watch in the 2019 class. But, place kickers are typically the last ones. Place kickers and punters, the last ones to be offered.
And usually, if you're getting a kicker, they come as most often a preferred walk-on or somebody who comes in without a scholarship.
Yeah.
And they earn a scholarship later on.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the call. 800-956-7266. Patrick Nations with an S. Yeah, punter, place kicker from Walhalla, USC. And I don't think Clemson will be in the market for a kicker because they've got whether Hugel's back, Spires is back. They've got Potter from South Point, who's a very good kicker coming in.
Alex Spence is
who did I say? I said Spence, right?
Well, you did not say Spence yet.
Yeah. Hugel.
You said Hugel. You said Spires. They're punter.
Oh, Spires, a punter, right? Spence, yeah. So they'll be pretty loaded up.
They're stacked at that position.
South Carolina's in good shape at punter. The punter's excellent.
Yes,
got a good strong leg, and we'll see who emerges as the kicker. To the phones we go once again, and it's Ryan in Hartsville. Ryan, welcome in. How are you?
Bill, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing good. I heard Tippy talking earlier about cable.
Yeah.
And I just want to let you know that I do have cable. And what happens is they give you a deal, and we're going to give you your cable, your phone, and your internet for $50 a month. And next thing you know, after a year, you're paying $250.
Oh,
yeah. So what I think is Tippy's got it. He's got it going on, man. Let's just go back to rabbit ears, listen to on radio, and I think that's probably the best way to go.
You don't think millions of Americans are cutting the cord every month? That's why ESPN is hemorrhaging, and a lot of those major operations like that are really struggling because people are cutting the cable.
Tippy said he is very primitive, though. He said he's got a flip phone, too.
I imagine, you know what, Tippy should be introduced to Hulu. I think Hulu would work well at his house.
Or YouTube TV. YouTube TV can get you the ESPN and stuff like that, all the live stuff.
And get us.
I also can
watch Sports Talk on YouTube.
Although you don't need a YouTube TV account just to watch us. You can watch us for free.
For free, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot. Let me remind everybody. You can watch our YouTube video feed. What you should do is now you get the Chromecast, or if you have a smart TV, you bring up our channel on YouTube. And can you imagine watching us on like a 80-inch television screen? How cool that would be.
No, I can't.
Swamp Fox in Charleston. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm great. Good evening.
Good evening,
gentlemen. I'm a long-time listener. First time call. I wanted to tell you that I have enjoyed your show for many years. I think you have.
I smell a butt coming.
You have the classiest call-in show with the most insightful comments. I've enjoyed your personality, and you've got a great sense of humor, and I think a high degree of intelligence. I'm calling about the velvet rope and the bargain basement comments. Now, as I said, I'm a long-time listener, and I know with your personality, you got to take a little bit of the good with the bad, kind of like with Coach Spurrier. And I suspect it's either one of two things: that either you wanted, there's a little bit of baiting involved. You say, well, it's a slow time of the year, so we're gonna try to create a little controversy, just like Feinbaum, I think, does a lot of that. Or the other possibility is that really is there's a chippiness between you and Coach Muschamp. I certainly know there was between you and Coach Spurrier, and that's probably not very unique, because I think Spurrier was really not a people person for someone in your profession. So I'll just tell you. My first reaction was I was going to do like Vern and say, well, I'm just going to turn you guys off and stop listening. But I'm a sportsman, and I enjoy. So I think you shouldn't say, well, I'm going to take my ball and go home. But so I've proposed two scenarios to you about the velvet rope.
All right, hang on.
And the bargain.
The
bargain basement.
Oh,
so I'd like for you to tell me which of the two scenarios is the correct one.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, Vern listens, okay, because Vern calls all the time when he gets mad about something. So Vern listens. We thank you for listening, and we'll address your comments and your questions after the break.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, to address the previous callers' comments and questions, Swamp Fox from Charleston. Let's see. Well, you made the comment about the
bargain basement,
and the velvet rope thing.
And all I say is this: when think of recruits like going to the grocery store. Okay, South Carolina shops for its groceries at Walmart.
Nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes they can get into Whole Foods and buy a couple of different things for produce. Clemson shops exclusively at Whole Foods. They're going to make you the same dinner. Now, maybe Clemson's will have better sourced produce, better sourced meat, but at the end of the day, you're both making dinner. I wasn't trying to say that in reference to making like South Carolina's players stink. It's just that Clemson, the recruiting battles that they are in, like you said earlier, they're in battles with an exclusive set of schools behind, again, to use an analogy, a velvet rope. South Carolina gets in beyond that velvet rope a couple of times. That caller mentioned Deebo Samuel. You could possibly see that with KJ Henry. But are they getting exclusivity to that part of the room? No, Clemson is.
But they have a chance. Excuse me. They do have a chance. KJ Henry would be one. J.C. Horn would be another.
Absolutely.
If they could roll him in. Sandage would be another if they can get him. They've got some guys already in who are very good, highly recruited players, and they've got some other possibilities. But you cannot argue with the fact that right now Clemson and a few other schools all recruit at the highest level in the country with the see, I don't like to get into
the star rankings
and all that. The star rankings reflect the opinions of those doing the rankings about how good a player could be in college, okay? What I'm saying is the most heavily recruited, the most desired, the most wanted players in the country that could go to any of these four teams in the playoffs and the next 4 or 5 after them, those schools, those are the people that Clemson is pretty much universally involved with at this particular time. And South Carolina has some of those, and then they have the next level that they're involved with. And it's not to say that the next level can't be great football players when they get to college, because obviously they can with development. And Muschamp likes to say over and over again, football is a development sport, and he likes to take those players and develop them into better players.
And it might chap the hide of Gamecock fans, but at the same time, there's a reason why Clemson's playing in New Orleans and why South Carolina's playing in Tampa.
Carl in Columbia, is that right?
Dr. Tigers.
I'm sorry, I skipped Dr. Tiger. Dr. Tiger in Myrtle Beach, you are up next. Thank you for waiting.
Good evening, gentlemen. Nice to talk to you again.
Yes, sir.
Good. You know, all this conversation with these Gamecocks that are worried about recruiting, you can tell them you're blue in the face, because it's just like trying to explain to them. I was the other day with a good tame coot that I know. The only thing they can rebut to you is, but y'all lost to Syracuse, but we're in the playoffs and you're not. So, I mean, that's the difference.
Who was this you were talking to? Who'd you say you were talking to?
A tame coot, a house coot.
Oh,
one of the Gamecocks that we keep around for pets.
I've never heard that before.
House coot. That's funny.
Never heard that before. Okay.
Well, it's a pretty old, very widely used terminology for coots that are tame, that you talk to on a regular basis. But
as opposed to wild.
Let's don't refer to people in that manner. Let's refer to them as Gamecock fans, Tiger fans. Okay, let's kind of stay out of the internet garbage there. Yeah,
I'll play nice for the rest of the call.
Thank you.
but here's the difference. If you look at a star breakdown with the recruiting classes coming in, this is the last time I saw it updated, and this is assuming that I think we're going to get KJ Henry and we're going to get the other kid, that's Cade Mays. I think we're going to get both of those.
How about Jamari Sawyer?
Clemson has 2 5-stars, 5 4-stars, and 5 3-stars, and we have a small class. So if you look at that and you compare it to South Carolina's, they have 0 5-stars, 3 4-stars, and 17 3-stars. So it tells you that they're not, just like you're saying, they're not getting the same kind of recruits, and they're having to go after more of those 3-star recruits because the 5-stars don't want to talk to them. And that's just the truth. And that's why the curve is going to stay in Clemson's favor for another 3 or 4 years at least with the beatdowns, because they can't recruit the type of players to match up on the lines in that skill position.
Yeah.
So I'll let you guys go with that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, that's I think pretty much spot on right now. And the only way to get to where Clemson is in recruiting, if you're South Carolina, is to they didn't when they had their run of 11 win seasons, they took advantage of tremendous talent in state.
Right.
They got really, for the most part, the best of the best in South Carolina, benefited from that, augmented that with some other good players from surrounding states, and put together a great 3-year run. And then they let it get away from them. They did not capitalize on that last 11-win season. They went from 11 to 7, and then they dropped down again. Spurrier leaves, and you know the rest of the story. So they nationally, even when they were doing the 11-win run, they still didn't climb that ladder recruiting wise to be consistently among the primo recruiting programs. And that was because their head coach and some of that staff were very good recruiters, but it starts with the head coach. Now they've got a guy and a staff lives, breathes, and eats recruiting.
Right.
And so that is it's getting better. It just takes time. And when Dabo started out as Clemson's head coach, they weren't recruiting at the level they are now.
Right.
The facilities improved. The wins started to come. Everything got better.
And it's not to say you can't win with 3 stars or developing 3 stars. Because again, what a guy, I don't know how you use the stars, but I'm just saying you can take a guy who is, to use the term, a 2-star. You could develop him into somebody who is a legitimate prospect for a National Football League team.
I just hate people that refer to players.
Well,
by
I'm just saying.
rankings.
But I'm saying it's all about the development.
I want to say to somebody when they say, "Yeah, look, we just got a commitment from a 4-star wide receiver," and my response is, "What does that mean?"
Sean, what does
a 4-star mean? Does that mean he's going to come in and be an all-league player? Is he going to be an All-American? What does that mean?
The long-time linebacker for the Falcons, Sean Weatherspoon. You know who I'm talking about? That guy?
Mm-hmm.
He was a 2-star at high school.
Yeah.
By Missouri, went there and developed himself into an NFL player. So I'm saying there are plenty of examples of guys who were low-star guys who turned into not only great college players but great NFL players. But
the problem is, so many people believe the stars make the players.
They don't.
The players make the stars.
Well, just as many 5-stars that flame out as 2-stars that go good.
If there was no such thing as a ranking system, and we know why these ranking systems were created, it's part of this. It's part of the buy-in. It's what gets their $9.95 a month. On the card. People want one thing about recruiting fans. They love lists and they love rankings.
Right.
And so the star system gave them another way. Fine. Great business idea, great business model, but don't define every player in America by a star system. If a player is a great player, he's that great player whether he's got 5 stars by his name or no stars. I mean, if there were no ranking system, they'll prove that when they get to their next location. So I think, I mean, the players, however, this era of high school kids that live on social media, they crave that star ranking. They want that 4th star. They think it's important.
Right.
And unfortunately, they've been fed a line of
baloney.
Yeah, exactly. By virtue of going to these camps and thinking that they've got to show out for these people to earn the star ranking.
Right.
Tremendous tweet that I saw from somebody earlier this week. It was a coach, and he identified Scout culprit here, and he said, "Funny how when we didn't subscribe to Scout, our players weren't
getting
ranked,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden we subscribe to Scout, and our players all of a sudden pop up in the rankings."
You could say the same thing about our business in Nielsen ratings. People who don't subscribe to Nielsen don't get numbers, and yet when you subscribe to Nielsen, you pop up in the ratings. It's the same kind of deal.
I don't know. Is it? That doesn't reflect our worthiness.
I don't think it reflects our worthiness. I'm just saying that those numbers change similarly to like what you guys said about the Scout thing.
Yeah. Why'd you shoot down my argument by putting us in the same category with them? Wasn't cool.
I didn't shoot it down. I was agreeing with you.
We'll be back.
I was agreeing with you. think we struck a nerve, partner.
You did.
Oh, stop it.
Okay, we're back. We are going to get to recruiting here in a moment and more of your phone calls. Those of you waiting, stand by. We'll get to you in a second. Bob Iback is back. Back.
Is Iback. Bob is Iback.
Yeah. Okay.
Bob is back, guys. I got out of Orlando, Florida from the winter meetings, and I get back to cold Chicago. It's only about 28 degrees here.
I love Chicago. It's my kind of town. Bob Iback is here to tell us more about the footballs that you're going to be giving away and the charity Extra Yard for Teachers. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back with you guys, and I do appreciate all your support and your listeners over the last 3 years. We've been doing a lot of cool stuff with Clemson football. It's their golden era, I think. I was telling somebody earlier today, and once again, we're working with the Extra Yard for Teachers, which is the official charity of the college football playoffs. And like we've done the last couple of years when we sold out all 5,000 of these Wilson footballs for the playoffs, we're doing another one this year. Hopefully it'll be as good, I think, a good luck charm like it was a year ago when when Clemson beat Alabama for the national championship. They're second in their history. And in a moment, I'll give out a toll-free number on the website, let folks know how you can purchase these. Because, again, only 5,000 will be made. They're all full-size. They come with a numbered certificate of authenticity, officially licensed. They're approved by the NCAA. And they're only $99, and they come with a very nice, handsome acrylic display case. So you have something to protect that football that will last for many, many years to show it off. And, again, it benefits Extra Yard for Teachers, and the money will stay in the state to help out school teachers. And as we all know, they've had a great impact on many of our lives. Now, on the footballs, we've got a couple cool white panels. One of the white panels has the official Clemson Tiger Paw orange logo right there in the center. Really pops out nice. Got a little Clemson football history. On the left-hand side, some of the key things over the many years going back to 1896. The right side of the panel salutes the championships, won in 1981, and, of course, last season when they beat Alabama. And it also has a little recognition there of Clemson's 3 consecutive seasons being in the bowl playoffs. There are 23 conference titles, 6 division championships, and also 3 perfect seasons. So the panel right below that is also a white panel. It's entitled Season to Remember, and it certainly has been. They got all the games listed there for the Tigers, their regular season results with the date, the opponent, and the final score, all in order. And it's a great way to look back on the season, remember how everything unfolded, including a special little salute there at the bottom of that panel to the ACC championship game when they beat Miami. And then right below that, we've left out enough room for the January 1st Sugar Bowl rematch against Alabama and New Orleans. And if the Tigers can win that game and advance to the title game, again, they'll play the winner of Georgia and Oklahoma on January 8th. We'll have that result put in there as well. And fortunately, if I think they go on to win this whole thing, which I think they can do, we'll also put national champions on the ball. And you'll get this 8 weeks after the Tigers play their final game. However, when I give out the website, you can also download a really nice Christmas card or holiday gift card with a picture of the ball on there. And you can use that and give it that loved one during the holiday season. So if you'd like to order these, we're about 1/3 of the way already sold out of the 5,000. You can call tonight at 1-800-345-2868. And again, it's a toll-free number, 1-800-345-2868. Or simply go right to NICOsports.com. You can see everything there, COsports.com. And Phil and Will, I know, I just want to say that in the last 4 years, we've raised about $2.4 million for charities, and I know a good part of that money has come from your area and certainly from your station and your great listeners.
Well, we thank you so much for that, and we will talk to you again next week, I take it? We'll continue moving forward? Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll check back with you a couple times next week. We'll set some things up and continue to sell these all the way up to game time on January the 1st, and hopefully we can get them all sold out and raise a lot of money again for the charity, which, again, is Extra Yard for Teachers.
Sounds great. Thank you, Bob. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next week.
Okay, you guys have a safe weekend as well. Take care now.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I'm back with us here on Sports Talk. Okay, look, I got to do recruiting, people. I got too much. I went shopping at Whole Foods This is a Whole Foods version of recruiting. Is that okay with you, Mr. Will?
It happens.
Prince Will?
It happens.
So got to go quick here because we've got more calls to get to, maybe a little bit more Dabo from practice today. We'll try to get to that. I'm not going to go into all the detail on this story. I wrote a long story about Stephen Gilmore Jr. of South Point. And the basis of the story was this was a kid, DB wide receiver. Y'all know that, brother of Stephon Gilmore, had offers that he could have committed to, did not commit in the spring or summer. USC wanted him and did not commit. And according to his coach, now as we get close to the early signing period, he has no offers left. He's lost everything that he had, Coach Straight-Heron told us. North Carolina came in Tuesday, talked to him, and said if they were to lose somebody, his name is still on the board. That's the situation he is in with these bigger programs right now. Coach Heron said that Will Muschamp called him and said that he's got a gray shirt offer or a preferred walk-on offer if he'd like that. But he wanted to make sure when he called that they knew that South Carolina wanted him when they made the offer. If he would have committed, they would have taken it. But as things moved on down the road and their class started to fill up, they had to know that they didn't have room for him anymore. So the point of the story, according to Coach Heron, the lesson to be learned here is if you have an offer from a school that you know that you want to go to, take it. Don't dilly-dally because it might not be there a week or two down the road. Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, and others contacted the coach about Gilmore after learning that he is still available. He was the MVP for the North on offense in last weekend's Touchdown Energy Bowl. 7 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. He is fast. He has hands. He can defend. He's a good player.
It's a shame.
Hopefully he'll land somewhere. I think he'll end up at South Carolina in some form or fashion, either as a preferred walk-on or a gray shirt or something like that, having to pay his first year. And that would be a bonus for the Gamecocks, I think. Now, the Stallions have other players on Wednesday signing. Of course, receiver Darion Kendrick, place kicker B.T. Potter with Clemson, defensive end Eli Adams with Virginia Tech, defensive back Jamari Currents with James Madison, and defensive back B.J. Davis, who played in the Touchdown Energy Bowl, and receiver Scott Robinson. They'll sign with South Carolina State. Talked to some coaches today. Well, let me give you the lineup for this weekend, what's going on. USC hosting offensive lineman Javon Gwynn and linebacker Rosendo Lewis for officials. Gwynn was supposed to be in the Shrine Bowl, but an injury forced him out, so he was able to come in early. I imagine he's in tonight. He's also considering really NC State and Duke a little bit. Lewis has been a Florida State commitment. Willie Taggart, the new coach there, met with him this week. And with USC no longer recruiting, Dax Holyfield and with Channing Tindall possibly headed to Georgia. So Lewis is the Gamecocks' top linebacker target at this point. Now, speaking of Tindall, he told Dog Post of SEC Country he is taking an official to Georgia this weekend, but he will not sign early. With his plan now to announce before leaving for the Army All-American game set for January 6th in San Antonio, if that's the case, with the dead period coming up on Monday, he won't have a chance to say get to USC again unless he goes over there on Sunday after returning from Athens. One other USC target visiting this weekend is defensive back Asante Samuel. He'll be at Florida State. He's been a Seminole commitment, but he has taken an official to USC. He plans to visit Miami in January. Clemson has no officials this weekend, but 5 major targets are going elsewhere. Foremost among them is offensive lineman Cade Mays. He'll be at Georgia for the weekend. He has also been to Clemson and Ohio State, widely viewed as a Clemson-Georgia battle. Offensive lineman Jackson Carman, who was at Clemson last weekend, is off to Southern Cal this weekend. He's also been to Ohio State, with the Buckeyes perceived the favorite. And decision time is drawing near, of course, on Wednesday, and we talked with coaches today of several other targets, and we'll tell you what they had to share with us after the break.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Well, among the things that you need to do this weekend, if you haven't done it already, is buy that Christmas tree. The state's finest Christmas trees are still on sale throughout the state at your local South Carolina Department of Agriculture Farmers Market. Celebrate the holidays. Make your home beautiful. Support our farmers today. Trees are available up until Christmas Eve, and time is running out, so get those trees or tree. And get more than one. Get one for each room.
Sure.
All right, let me finish up recruiting because I've got more. I was talking about Clemson targets and what they were doing this weekend. I wanted to finish up with that. Running back Jashawn Corbin, who's on has Clemson on his short list, will visit TCU this weekend. He's also been to Oregon, scheduled for Southern Cal in January. Defensive back Brendan Radley Hiles is scheduled to visit Florida over the weekend. He's also been to Clemson, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and UCLA. Another big target for Clemson, Jamari Sawyer, offensive lineman Atlanta, is going to Georgia this weekend. Clemson recruiters Tony Elliott and Mike Reed were in this week, as was Georgia head coach Kirby Smart and line coach Sam Pittman. Chris Slade, the head coach at Pace Academy, told us today he's going to not sign early. He's going to decide on the 7th of February. He's gone back and forth. I don't know. I'm not trying to play coy. But with his decision not to sign next week, he will take more official visits, and that is, I think, a bonus for Clemson there. Clemson running back target Lynn J. Dixon of Butler, Georgia, is down to the Tigers in Oklahoma State. He'll visit the Cowboys this weekend. Tony Elliott was in earlier this week, as was the Oklahoma State recruiter. His coach, Mark Wilson, said he likes both of them. I'm not sure how it's going to go. He's looking for the best fit. There'll be no formal announcement. Dixon will make his decision and tweet it out sometime early next week. Defensive end Jarrett Jackson, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, down to USC and Louisville. Been a Cardinal commitment, took an official to USC in early November. Gamecocks have been a factor ever since. He will sign Wednesday at noon at his school. Travaris Robinson and Lance Thompson met with him this week. Louisville was also in. His coach is William Clark, and he said they're keeping it close to the vest. No indicators towards him yet. He has been committed for a very long time, but he's taken some visits. He said he does not seem like a nervous wreck. He's not a kid that has shown him that he is stressing. He may have made a decision in his mind, but he has not confirmed that this is where it's going to be. All right, so that will be noon on Wednesday. Offensive lineman Dylan Wanham of Tucker, Georgia, will not sign next week, according to his coach. Hasn't done all that much with his recruiting. USC and Auburn unofficial visits during the season. USC, Tennessee, and LSU were 3 in to check on him over the last couple of weeks. Will Muschamp, Brian McClendon were in this week and took in his basketball game. Auburn is also in the mix with the other 3. He has not scheduled any official visits yet. Brian Lamar is his coach. He wants him to sign on the 20th. His coach does. He said he would not be shocked if he just walked up and did something on the 20th.
Interesting.
But he has no clue because the kid doesn't tell him anything.
Interesting.
Now, the USC commitment at Tucker, receiver Josh Vann, will sign on Wednesday, but it's not an early signee. USC target defensive lineman Rick Sandage told Rivals of his official visit dates: Georgia on the 12th, North Carolina the 19th, Michigan the 26th, and USC the 2nd. Colton Bailey, quarterback of Chapman, Mr. Football finalist, offered by Newberry. Defensive end Kenny Terry of Palmetto Prep, offered by SC State and Eastern Kentucky. Muschamp was by Grayson High in Loganville, Georgia yesterday, and Buford High in Georgia, and he offered at Grayson 2019 offensive lineman Wanya Morris, and at Buford he offered 2019 offensive lineman Riley Simons. Defensive end Dorian Gerald has set an official visit with Florida. Cane Bay receiver Chris Copeland committed to the Citadel. USC offered the following: 2019 defensive back E.J. Jackson, Belglade, Florida. 2019 linebacker Trey Wilkins, Lithonia, Georgia. 2019, that's it. I told you about Wanya Morris.
Yes.
Virginia Tech offered 2019 receiver Jamario Holly of Northwestern. 2020 quarterback Ridge Jacobs of Jacksonville plans to be at USC for the practice tomorrow. And 2019 linebacker Jalen Scott of Shelby, North Carolina, was at Clemson today. Clemson recently offered. North Carolina, NC State, and Maryland have offered. He's really said he was thrilled to get the Clemson offer. He likes Venables and Mickey Conn, the safeties coach, and they like how he plays in space and things like that. He said North Carolina and NC State are high on his list right now, along with Clemson. Is that good for recruiting for you?
I think you've covered it all.
Excellent. You know, your predecessor used to fall asleep when I did recruiting, so I'm proud of the fact that you will stay awake.
Why do you think I have caffeine every day?
There you go.
So I can get through recruiting.
Check out our recruiting on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. And follow it over the weekend as we try to stay on top of everything.
Carl is next from Columbia.
Why don't you take us to the call?
Hello, Carl.
Good evening, gentlemen.
What's up, Carl?
Good evening, Jim. Hey, Phil, have you heard from my...
Wait a minute. This doesn't sound like somebody named Carl.
Have you heard from Jerome? I'm from Charleston. Have you heard from him?
This is Jerome.
This is not Jerome, Phil.
This is Jerome.
Look at my number. Ask your man to look at my number.
I don't think we have
we don't have
a caller ID. We're not quite that
I'm from
advanced.
the low country, too.
Well, you must be brother of Jerome.
Well, you know, it's that accent, that great accent from Charleston.
Well, let me see what you have to say, and I'll determine if you're really Jerome or not.
First of all, I would like to say that football I bought last year, National Championship football, is a great buy.
You're not Jerome if you spent money. Okay, you just proved it.
And number two, tell the Gamecocks fan to look at what's the name of the movie with Jack Nicholson? Because you and Will tell them like it is. They can't handle the truth.
Few Good Men.
They don't want to hear the truth.
Few Good Men.
Love that movie.
One of Corn's favorite movies.
It really is.
Right. They can't handle the truth. And number
handle the truth.
three, Phil, they had 5 years of beating Clemson to get it done. They done nothing with it. So let Clemson, let us enjoy our championship and keep going. Dabo Swinney said the best is yet to come.
Interesting.
Yeah, he has said that. He has said that. Okay.
I listen to you sometimes because I don't have all the time, but Jerome, call in. Where are you?
Well, you know, he has called a couple of times, and he just didn't pay the price. So sometimes we require the callers to be patient, pay the price, and he didn't do that. He was gone before he could get to him. Let's go to Billy in Surfside. We're running short on time. Billy, welcome in.
Hey, Phil, fellas, I'll make comments real quick. Hey, Phil, here's the deal. I'll just ask you this. I'll make the comments and see if you agree. Who wins national championships? I know you hate to hear 5-stars, so I'll just refer to 5-stars as blue chippers, the ones that have the blue chippers. And let me remind these Gamecock fans that this is supposed to be a rebuilding year per se. Deshaun Watson losing 85% of the offense, and now Clemson's #1 in the country with a fantastic small class coming in with a very young football team, one of the youngest teams in the country. You heard that, but I think it's 9 freshmen or 9 seniors. Excuse me.
But keep in mind this, Billy. They are young, but there's at least 12 underclassmen thinking about going to the league early. Not all of them will, but maybe, about half of those could go.
They will.
Which would change the dynamics to some degree, but they, like you said, they've got, good players waiting in the wings. That's how they kept it going after last year.
It'll be very interesting to see how that affects what they do in the later signing period, whether it happens.
They'll be done
between December.
Well, except for the Jamari Sawyer. Almost everybody they want will be done on Wednesday. Yeah.
Understand. But also I'm saying they could have more openings by those guys leaving is what I'm trying to say.
True that. Hey, you know what tomorrow is?
Saturday.
But you know what tomorrow is?
Shrine Bowl Day.
But you know what tomorrow is in South Carolina?
Shrine Bowl Day.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
Sandlappers Day.
But what does that mean?
It means we all root for the same team.
But what does that mean?
What does that mean? Quit dancing around it, man. Just say it.
It means it's the absolute final football game of the year in South Carolina.
True that.
We won't have another football game in our state until August. So get to Gibbs Stadium and support the Sandlappers. Let's all pull for the Sandlappers tomorrow and pull for the Packers on Sunday. And have a great weekend.
No.
Thank you. We'll see you Monday.